Picture this. You unlock the door to room C, Tumana, Colorado's legendary Stanley Hotel. The corridor behind you is silent, too silent, yet the brass key in your hand feels strangely warm. Step inside. A sudden chill cuts across the room, sharp as a knife. You tell yourself it's just the mountain air, but the door clicks shut by itself. The story begins more than a century ago, when a young housekeeper named Elizabeth Wilson lit a lantern to check a gas leak. A violent explosion ripped through the room, blasting her clear across the floor. Bones shattered, flesh burned, yet somehow, miraculously, she survived. Years later, she died peacefully, but guests swear she never left. Listen carefully. Visitors say the lights flicker in rhythm like a heartbeat. Luggage unpacks on its own. Shoes move from corner to corner. Couples have woken to find their blankets neatly folded at the foot of the bed, as if a careful maid tidied them in the dead of night. No living staff entered. No key turned the lock. Ghost hunters set up cameras. Hours pass. Nothing. Then, at 3:17 a.m., a soft glow pulses in the mirror. A figure in an old-fashioned uniform drifts by, her face pale and distant, her eyes locked on the bed. She bends, tucks the sheets, straightens a pillow, and vanishes before the lens can focus. Even the fearless feel it. Tour guides describe a pressure in the chest as though the room itself is breathing. Skeptics laugh until their electronics fail. Batteries drain in minutes. Cold spots bloom in the corners like sudden frost. The air tastes metallic like a struck match. Stephen King once slept here. Legend says a single night was enough to fill his dreams with hallways that never ended and spirits that refused to rest. That dream became The Shining, a story of madness and haunted isolation that still freezes hearts today. And it all started in this very chamber. Imagine lying there now. The old radiator hisses, but the temperature drops lower. A faint scent of lavender, Elizabeth's favorite, spills across the room. Footsteps scrape the hardwood floor, slow and deliberate. You turn, expecting to see someone. No one stands there. Only the mirror reflecting the bed, and a second shadow that isn't yours. Room 217 waits. It doesn't shout. It whispers. It invites. Those who dare to stay speak of a presence both gentle and unyielding. A caretaker from the other side ensuring everything remains just so. You can leave at dawn if dawn comes. But part of you, like Elizabeth Wilson herself, might never walk out. Night settles over the Stanley Hotel, wrapping the grand building in a hush so deep you can hear your own heartbeat. Down a long corridor stands the deserted concert hall, doors locked since sunset. Yet faint music drifts through the air, soft, elegant, impossibly distant. A single piano key strikes, then another. A melody begins to form, mournful and sweet. The source? No one living. This room once hosted glittering parties, laughter spilling into the mountain night. Wealthy travelers twirled under crystal chandeliers, their footsteps echoing like distant thunder. But time moved on. Guests left. The music stopped, or it should have. Investigators creep inside after hours, equipment humming. The grand piano rests beneath a thin sheet of dust. No one touches it. Still, a note rings out, pure and cold. Cameras capture the keys sinking as if pressed by unseen fingers. A whisper follows, a woman's voice, soft as a sigh. Some say it's the spirit of Flora Stanley, the hotel's original mistress, forever performing for a crowd that no longer exists. Visitors describe the sensation of a breath against their neck while standing alone. Others hear footsteps circling the empty dance floor. A chandelier sways through the air as perfectly still. One guest fainted as a sudden, icy draft coiled around her like an invisible waltz partner. Paranormal teams record spikes in electromagnetic fields the moment the piano plays. Infrared scans reveal nothing. Yet sound engineers capture faint harmonies, ghostly chords layered beneath the main melody, as if an entire orchestra still lingers beyond sight. Skeptics arrive with bravado and leave pale. shaken by the echo of music that shouldn't exist. Even the bravest admit the ballroom feels alive, like it's holding its breath between each haunting refrain. Imagine standing there yourself. Darkness presses close. A final chord resonates, vibrating through the polished floorboards straight into your bones. Then silence so complete it roars in your ears. You back toward the door, heart pounding, only to hear the faint scrape of a bench sliding across the tiles behind you. You turn. The piano lid is open. It begins as a faint rustle, just a breath against the ancient wallpaper. You pause. The corridor stretches long and narrow, lamps glowing amber along the red-carpeted floor. No doors open, no guests stir, yet someone or something moves in rhythm with you. One step, another, perfectly timed. Visitors have called these the Whispering Halls, a place where the living and the lost overlap. Staff closing up for the night report, voices weaving through the dark. Fragments of conversation in languages they cannot place. A child's giggle flickers at the edge of hearing, soft and cruel, vanishing when chased. Paranormal teams bring recorders and infrared scanners. Hours of silence. Then static snaps alive. A low male murmur breaks through, slow and deliberate. Still here. Moments later, footsteps echo on every microphone, though every camera shows only empty air. Guests tell stories of sudden temperature drops that bite like winter teeth. One traveler felt a cold hand graze his shoulder. Another swears a whisper breathed her own name against her ear, the syllables drawn out like a secret. Each tries to explain it. Drafts, plumbing, imagination, but the sound lingers unmistakable. Long after they flee to the lobby's fragile glow, even the architecture conspires. The hallway bends slightly, perspective stretching until distance feels impossible to judge. Shadows pool where no light should allow them. Mirrors along the walls reflect shapes that step out of sync with your own movements, as if the building itself is experimenting with reality. Guides warn that electronics fail here first. Batteries drain in minutes. Phones record strange harmonics, tones too low for the human voice. One recording captured a breathy chuckle layered beneath the guide's speech, a laugh with no owner. Imagine standing there alone at midnight. The carpet muffles your every move. You turn a corner and the sound of feet follows. Closer now, quickening. You spin around, empty, yet the whispers rise. A chorus of hushed words you cannot decipher, threading through the stillness like smoke. Some say these halls remember every secret, every fear, every life that ended within these walls. They do not need permission to speak. They only need silence. Night falls across Estes Park, and the great white facade of the Stanley glows like a beacon. Cameras click, tripods scrape. Paranormal investigators from every corner of the globe arrive with suitcases packed not with clothes, but with thermal scanners, EMF meters, and hope. Hope that tonight the spirits will answer. The hotel welcomes them in a hush. Grand staircases groan under heavy boots as teams spread out. The grand ballroom, the notorious room 217, the whispering hallways. Every creak of timber, every sudden gust, is captured on recorders tuned to catch frequencies human ears can't detect. And then the phenomena begin. A sudden cold spot blooms in the lobby, a pocket of icy air that makes breath visible while the rest of the room remains warm. Meters spike, red lights flash. Someone gasps as their camera battery dies in an instant, drained by a force no science can chart. In the concert hall, a thermal camera picks up a moving silhouette, tall, upright, drifting just beyond the stage curtains. The figure pauses, head tilts, then melts into the black as though it was never there. Playback shows the shape clearly, but when investigators rush forward, nothing waits behind the curtain except dust and silence. Elsewhere, an audio recorder captures a soft voice, impossible to ignore. Leave now. Two simple words layered with static, yet distinct enough to chill blood. These moments are not isolated. Over decades, the Stanley has become a living laboratory for the unexplained. Television crews from the world's most prominent paranormal shows have broadcast live from its haunted rooms. They bring the best equipment: infrared cameras, motion detectors, high-sensitivity microphones, and leave with evidence that defies explanation. Glowing orbs that pulse like heartbeats, footsteps in empty stairwells, electromagnetic surges that spike off the charts. Skeptics arrive determined to debunk. They leave pale and shaken, clutching tapes of voices they never heard in the moment. Some refuse to speak publicly, convinced that acknowledging the experience will invite something back with them. Imagine standing among these seasoned investigators as the lights cut out, every bulb, every lantern, plunging the entire floor into black. In that instant, the Stanley seems to breathe. A low vibration hums through the wood beneath your feet, steady as a pulse. Your headset crackles. A whisper leaks through the static. You found us. That is the Stanley Hotel's final, irresistible lure. It doesn't just haunt, it performs, teasing the curious, feeding the cameras with fragments of the impossible. The year was 1909. Inventor Freeland Oscar Stanley, weakened by tuberculosis, arrived in the wilds of Colorado seeking air pure enough to save his life. Doctors warned him to prepare for the end, but the thin mountain breeze revived him, and with new strength came ambition. He vowed to build a retreat unlike any the West had seen, a palace of white wood and grand staircases, where the wealthy could breathe mountain air and dance beneath electric lights. Construction rose fast on the lonely hillside. Timber groaned, stone foundations settled, and workers whispered about strange accidents. Tools vanished overnight. Shadows moved at the edge of lantern glow. A young carpenter swore he heard hammering continue long after the crews had gone. When the Stanley Hotel opened its doors, it glittered with modern marvels: running water, electricity, telephones. Yet behind the glamour, darkness stirred. Early guests fell ill without explanation. A chambermaid collapsed in the East Wing and never woke. Storms rolled down from the Rockies, blackening the sky and cutting the grand resort off from the town below. Some say the land itself resisted the intrusion. Ute tribes had once called these slopes sacred, a thin place where the living and the spirit world nearly touched. Old hunters warned of echoes in the forest that answered your own voice, a heartbeat too late. As seasons passed, tragedy accumulated like dust. A child slipped from a staircase. A porter vanished during a blizzard. His body found days later frozen beneath the ballroom windows. Each death added another thread to the tapestry of whispers that would define the Stanley's future. Even Freeland Stanley's miraculous recovery fed the mystery. He arrived dying, yet lived decades beyond the doctor's predictions. Locals murmured that the mountain had claimed a bargain, his life extended in exchange for something unseen. When Stanley finally passed, guests reported a tall gentleman in a black suit strolling the lobby, tipping his hat, only to dissolve into the night air. Stand in the lobby today and you can feel it. The weight of beginnings soaked in unfinished business. The grand piano gleams, the chandeliers sparkle, but the walls breathe with memory. Every creak of the floorboards carries the first heartbeat of a story still unfolding. Guides will tell you the Stanley Hotel is haunted because of what came after: explosions, sightings, ghost hunts. But those who linger in the quiet know the truth. The haunting began before a single guest checked in. It is woven into the timbers, anchored in the granite, older than the hotel itself. Closing beat, voice deepens to a final haunting note. The Stanley was born not merely as a hotel, but as a vessel for every secret the mountain was waiting to keep. Subscribe for more U.S. ghost hunts and haunted history.